Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. We're doing another No Box Art Box. I know I've been doing a lot of them lately. That's because I love them. So, what is the No Box Art Box? Well, it's an art challenge. You just pick a past art or craft subscription box, any box, as long as it's already gone out. And if you want to figure out how to modify this to do it for another type of subscription box, go ahead. Step number 2. Find out what came in the box and match those supplies as close as you possibly can using the things you already own. You are allowed exact matches as long as you're not replicating a box you actually got. So if you did get the box, then you got the supplies from that box, you can't use them, you have to use something else. If you have the exact same match for any other reason, fair game. Step number 3, do the challenge. Create art, make your craft, whatever it is you're doing, using only the supplies you have matched. You are allowed to add essentials that were missing, such as a pencil or a piece of paper, but don't add anything that changes the game. And if the original box had a prompt or a theme, try to stick to it. So this time around, we are doing SketchBox January 2020. And yes, SketchBox does have 2 tiers, the basic and the premium. These ones were very, very similar. They did a really good job giving a good deal to the people who got basic. So I'm just saying that we're replicating both. So what came in the box? I have it all broken down here. I have all of my prices. I have the conversions, US dollars, Canadian dollars, Great British pounds, and all of the value calculations. This will be in the description down below. Don't worry about trying to pause and read it. I will mention though, they have changed their pricing a little bit. The discounts that you get when you prepay for certain numbers of months. There is absolutely no difference between 3 months prepaid and 6 months prepaid on the basic. The premium gets a little bit cheaper at 6 months versus 3, but the basic doesn't. I don't know why. I'm wondering if that's an error on the website. That didn't used to be the case, but whatever. Alright, so for the paper, this box did send out black paper that can handle watercolor type media. The basic box got some Clairefontaine paint on black. That is a 250 GSM pad of 10 sheets. It's in A6 size, and you will probably recognize that if you've been watching my channel, because that was sent out in the December Scrawler box. Well, they sent out A5, but... The premium subscribers got Legion Stonehenge Aqua Black. That is a 300 GSM, specifically watercolor paper, cold press, 5 by 7 inches, and that is 15 sheets. Both boxes, basic and premium, got an angle brush from Silver. They got the crystal angle brush in 3/8. For the paints that were included, there are some that are the same and some that are different. The basic box got 3 tubes of Gumbotcher Academy watercolor tubes, 7.5 milliliters. They got Cobalt Blue Hue, Gamboge Hue, and Chinese White. The premium box got 2 tubes of Winsor Newton Cotman and 1 M Graham Artist's Watercolor. The Winsor Newton Cotman tube are 8 milliliters, and they got Lemon Yellow Hue and Intense Blue. The M Graham is a 15 milliliter tube of Titanium White Opaque. Both boxes got a pan of Finetech Metallic Watercolor in the color Dark Teal, and both boxes got a Marvi Uchida Reminisce white gel pen with a 1mm ball nib. So what will I be using to replicate this box? As I did just mention, that Clairefontaine black paint-on paper came in a recent Scrawler box. So that is what I will be using. This is an A5 size. It's a little bit bigger than what they got. That's okay, we're just gonna roll with that. For the angle brush, surprisingly, I do not own any angle brushes, but a number 8 filbert is the same size. That's a 3/8 of an inch. So we're going to use this Princeton Snap Filbert in number 8. For the paints, I am trying to replicate the premium selection, so I have pans of Winsor Newton Cotman paints in the colors that were sent out. This one is lemon yellow hue, and this one is intense blue. And in place of that opaque titanium white from M. Graham's Artist Watercolour, I will be using a Daler Rowney Aquafine Gouache in titanium white. I do not own any Finetech watercolors, so I will be using a Kuretake Gansai Tambi pan. This is number 762 Pearl Cobalt Blue. And finally, in place of the Marvie Uchida Reminisce white gel pen, I will be using a Sakura Jelly Roll in the same size, 1mm ball nib. I like to tag a couple other YouTube artists to do this challenge every time I put out a new video in this series. Absolutely everyone is welcome to do it anytime. You don't have to wait to be tagged, and those who are tagged, you don't have to do this exact box. You can do any box. I'm just tagging you to try the challenge. This round, I'd like to tag Inked Sleep, the Artsy Pineapple, and the Artistic Newfie. Alright, so at this point I've been letting this dry for quite a while. I've watched 5 or 6 YouTube videos, so probably at least 45 minutes here. And as you can see, I decided to go with a basic solar system. That's kind of what inspired me with these colors. So far, I'm not that crazy about it. I am going to continue and see if I can turn this into something more interesting after I have this little stop and chat moment. As you can see, this is a mixed media paper, not specifically a watercolor paper. It did warp a lot, or I made it quite wet with the sun here. It's very, very warped. And yes, I'm using the back of the same sheet. I don't have many sheets, I don't want to waste it. But mixing the watercolors in with the gouache did, as you would expect, make them pop a lot more on this paper. I don't know, I just don't think that watercolor is something I would choose to do on black paper. I think black paper is something I would be more likely to do with pencils and pastels, and if I was going to paint on it, I would do something more opaque like gouache or acrylic, but this is what the box demanded, so this is what we've done. I do really like the way this Jupiter turned out. I think the light's doing weird things here. I don't know if you can see it. There is not supposed to be any glitter in here. I just swirled the white gouache and the mixed with yellow gouache. Yes, by the way, I put Pluto in, because Pluto's still a planet in my books. These are all the colors I ended up mixing. I don't like the fact that the gummed edge of the pad has not stayed in the pad, it's come away with the paper. and these are supposed to be two very different textured sides. And I don't know, there's a little bit more texture on the front side, not a whole lot. Not a crazy amount of difference. So again, this was the Clairefontaine paint on paper. Misleading name if you ask me, because I wouldn't immediately want to use it for paint. I would want to use it for pencil and pastel. But I'm going to continue and see if I can turn this into more of a art piece and not a very crappy circle swatching exercise. Alright, so here it is. Still looks like, I don't know, could be in like a classroom education material type thing. Not really a work of art. I think I probably would not have been pleased with the actual box, either the basic or the premium, just as a curated set. I don't think these colors, I don't think the yellow and the darker blue make much sense for a black paper. Having the opaque white definitely helps. Keep in mind the basic box, that was not an opaque white, that was just a basic watercolor, so it wouldn't have had the same effect. If the Marvi Uchida white gel pen is as good as a Jelly Roll is, and I expect it would be because their fine liners are just as good as the other fine liners I love. Maybe that could have acted as a base a bit. I don't know. I think if I had gotten the original box, I would not have been impressed with the box as a set. I would not have been impressed with what I made with that box either. I think this is probably the kind of thing I would have come up with, especially considering this is exactly the paper that the basic box got, and the, well, at least the premium got actual watercolor paper, but still. But I would have been happy to have those supplies afterward, because full-size tubes of Winsor Newton Cotman would not go astray. I love them. Would have been interesting to have the M. Graham opaque white. Even with the basic box, it would have been interesting to try tubes of a brand of watercolor I've never tried before, the Gumbacher, and would not have been disappointed to try Finetech for the first time. But yeah, overall, those are my thoughts. This is what I came up with. I think the actual SketchBox school, whatever they're calling it, videos, they did bubbles. Clearly they weren't very ambitious with it either. So, yeah, interesting challenge. Probably not their best box ever. Glad I tried it this way and without actually spending the money on it. See you next time.